Action.
Hey, it's Matt and Jamie, and we're here to talk about the poem Homo Erectus by Yusef Komunyakaa.
Does the title mean anything important?
Yeah, the title Homo Erectus, the word and the phrase itself is a reference to an early version of the humans. Like there's Homo sapiens, and then before Homo sapiens, there's Homo erectus, and they were pretty much primates, like monkeys at that point. And that's just the scientific definition of it.
All right. What was the overall connotation of the poem? Like, was there any diction that really stuck out to you?
The connotation of the poem is really like old world and primitive, I guess is the best way to put it, where it has words like pissing around or gut level and rancor or bash the skull, and that's really like primitive and almost like native culture, where it's just so non-modern, I guess is the best way to put it, and that really kind of represents the characters in the story as well. And so the connotation is definitely something that's very important.
Were there any important symbols?
Yeah, there are some really important symbols, like the totem is a really important symbol because it's a really key word that represents the description of the first character, and it tells, like, a totem is typically a tribal symbol, and so it kind of just shows that the first character is really old world and primitive. Another really important symbol is the carrion birds, and carrion birds are birds that are typically scavengers, and they eat dead things like leftover animals. And it says that they sing and come down and sing to the people, and it's just kind of like gives a really, it sets a good mood, like a tone to the setting where it's dark and mysterious and death is in the air is literally what it means. Other symbols, I guess, would be like the langur and the cheetah. Both these animals are from two separate parts of the world. The cheetah is from the savannas of Africa and is the fastest land animal in the world, whereas the langur is a type of monkey from Southeast Asia, specifically Vietnam. And it just kind of, again, sets the setting for both characters and also the themes for the poem, how Africa relates to the Civil Rights Movement, and Southeast Asia and Vietnam relate to the Vietnam War, which Yusef Komunyakaa was heavily involved in both of. So those are definitely two of the most important symbols in here.
So you believe that his background information was a key part to making this creating
Oh
this
yeah,
poem?
definitely. Yusef Komunyakaa was a really big civil rights advocate, so the fact that he points out the cheetahs and the primitive people of Africa and the langur and how that relates to the people of Vietnam, showing that he was in the Vietnam War as well, is definitely important. His background is definitely a super important part about this poem.
Was he biblical in any way? Did he create any biblical allusions throughout?
Yeah, he had a really big one referencing to Jacob and the angel in Genesis 32, lines 22 to 32. And the story of Jacob and the angel is Jacob fighting an angel to get his blessing. And the angel eventually changed Jacob's name to Israel, which literally means to struggle with God. And so it just kind of shows that, like, the angel, the fact that he is fighting a person, it's kind of a role reversal, and it shows that maybe the angel isn't so good. Like, maybe this angel isn't what he's supposed to be. And so after the line, but this choreographer for Jacob and the angel knows it says knows defeat. So both Jacob and the angel, the good and the bad, both know defeat.
So the angel's sort of like a paradox.
Yeah, it definitely is a paradox. It's a big role reversal.
All right. The format of the poem, is there anything special about it? Anything out of the ordinary?
There's no real rhyme scheme. I mean, I guess you could say the stanzas each have 4 lines, but that's not hugely important. What is important is that because there's no rhyme scheme, it kind of just shows the unorganized fashion of combat, which is mentioned several times in this poem. And so having no rhyme scheme just shows unorganization and kind of disorderness, I guess you could say.
So like the cluster thoughts on the battlefield, and it's
Yeah.
the chaos and all
Exactly.
that. All right. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Awesome.